What's up, guys? We are back and in a familiar place. We've seen this on a couple times, and I don't know, I like recording in here. This is actually on the rooftop of the building that I live in, and I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous episode, but this is the room that kind of inspired me to start making a podcast. I feel like I did mention that, but maybe you weren't listening to that episode. Behind the camera, there's these green sound panels, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I could record a podcast in there because the sound would be pretty good. I could have people in here. It's kind of like a default studio, and you can actually rent the space. You usually don't have to. Like, I didn't rent it today, but I was in here and I was like, oh, like maybe it'd be cool. We have the window. There's a cool view behind me. You might kind of see behind the blinds. If I had the blinds down, I would just be super backwashed. But I could possibly have a guest in here, and it would be cool. It would be comfortable. It would be fun. So here we are, and we are going to talk about spreading yourself too thin. This is something that's really easy to do whenever you are starting up, whenever you're trying to get as much work as you possibly can. It's tough not to spread yourself too thin. Perfect example is me being the worrying person that I am. I wasn't that busy at the beginning of the year, and then I was saying yes to every job that came along because I was like, all right, like this will be good, awesome. And honestly, like I was financially okay. I didn't necessarily need every single job. But then a bunch of work started coming in. I said yes to everything, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm a little bit stressed now. But I know if I just chip away at that, I'll be good. I just can't procrastinate. And I think that spreading yourself thin is something that's really, really easy to do. And especially whenever your business is slow, you want to say yes to everything. You want to just keep going, and you want a lot of work. And then you get all the work and you're like, all right, now I have to figure out how I can accomplish all this in a good amount of time, because I want to find the balance between still giving good turnaround times, but also keeping my mind sane. You got to keep your mind sane. You can't just work all day, every day, or else you're going to lose your mind and you're going to burn out. That is a problem that happens whenever you spread yourself too thin. You end up burning out inevitably. I think that this is what happens to me. I take on so much work, and then I always just get frustrated, and I pretty much just want to stop. I want to stop. I want to take a trip. I want to do something, and that's not a good thing to feel. You should be balanced enough that you can go through and do all these projects that you said yes to and pretty much give everything you have to them. I've said before, and I'll say it again, my goal whenever I'm older is not necessarily to have all the clients in the world. I want to have one or a few clients a month that pay me a good amount of money, so I don't necessarily have to be worried at all financially, and I can pay my employees. And I want us to be able to focus on these campaigns, these projects. That's what's fun to me. I like having enough money and freedom to put all of my time and money towards this project. I like making videos that I truly want to make. I want to make videos that, maybe I have the last say on. I think that's what's cool about YouTube is I could possibly make these videos, and if I like them, then they get posted. There's no revisions there. I think that having a couple good clients means that you can put your all into those. You're not saying, oh man, we have to shoot this one video today. Well, let's go shoot it, knock it out, and then we'll edit it real quick. For a client that's paying you, that shouldn't be the process of it. That shouldn't be how you go about it, because, they're paying you and trusting you to make maybe a campaign, maybe even just a small social video. But if you're just making a small social video right now, it could be a campaign down the road. So it is tough, and that means you have to say no. I haven't gotten to that point yet. I do say no to some things, but those are usually the ones that aren't paying really at all. And whenever a job's not paying at all, it's really not worth the time. Sometimes it is. I've talked about that in a previous episode. And there's definitely a time and place where you take a job because of the exposure. You take the job because of a possible connection, the potential that it could have down the road. But you don't have to say yes to everything. You don't have to say yes to the jobs that you don't want to do. You don't have to say yes to even the high-paying job that is going to absolutely suck. That is a tough scenario to be in. If they're offering to pay you so much money, but you know it's just going to be the biggest headache in the world, it truly might not be worth it. It might be worth maybe taking the client and then having a friend handle it, having a contractor handle it, so you can still get some money out of it, but you still might have to deal with the annoying part of that, because if it's your client, usually how it works whenever I'm in those situations, I'm usually the contractor, but I will be the one that shoots. So the contractor will shoot it, they'll edit it, and then they'll send it to you. You're still the one that's dealing with the client. The annoying part of the project is probably going to be the client. They're going to be the one that's annoying. They're going to be the one that's maybe saying something and they're not necessarily wanting that thing. That's the frustrating part. The frustrating part is not shooting it. Now, you might benefit from having somebody else shoot it because they go in with a fresh mind. They don't go into it knowing that a client's annoying. They don't go into it knowing that it's going to be a headache. They have a fresh set of eyes on it. They see the brief. They see the storyboard. They're ready to go. Then they can shoot it, and they can maybe even do a better job than you were because you didn't want to put as much as you had into that, solely because you just didn't like the client. That's definitely a possibility. That happens. That has happened before. And so whenever you're not busy, I know it's easier said than done, and I didn't even do this in this past month. Be careful how many things you take on. You'll get this gut feeling after you take a couple things on where you're like, oh, maybe I should slow down a little bit. Now, I'm okay. I know that I'm all right, and I'll be able to get it all done. But if I took every single job that came my way, I would be stretched so thin, and the rest of my work would sacrifice. The last thing I would want to do is take this low-paying job from a client that I don't even know and have it really bring down the quality of a consistent client project that I have. You don't want to sacrifice these people who are giving you consistent work just for this quick, like $300, $400. Like, that's stupid. You got to play the long game. You got to realize what is actually going to make sense for you long term. You got to make sure that this is actually going to move the needle a little bit, because if it's not and you're trying to get a bag, sometimes it's not worth it. Obviously, sometimes you need to get out there, you need to make the money, but it gets tough. And whenever you're stressed out, just remind yourself that you've been here before. You know, the business goes in cycles. Not everyone has these clients that are giving them monthly work. I'm grateful enough to have Drone Hub, who gives me consistent work that is in the real estate space, and that is super flexible. And if I get a cool job, like I'm going to go on a trip soon for about a week. If I get a cool job, I can tell them like, hey, I'm doing this, but I can shoot this day, that day. When I'm back, I'll give you these amount of days. That is not common. I'm grateful for these guys. You know, they gave me a lot. They were part of the reason I dropped out. They gave me consistent work. They gave me a full-time editing job to stay here in Chicago after my freshman year. And now they've been totally cool with shifting me to a contractor role as I try to grow my actual business. And, you know, I'm forever grateful for that. It's a super cool position to be in. And so whenever you have something like that, it kind of gives you freedom to pivot. It gives you freedom to move around and not necessarily take every single job that comes your way. You can take the cool jobs that don't pay as much, because I know that I'm getting paid just as much from Drone Hub. I know that I get a good amount of money, and I have not necessarily guaranteed, but I have consistent money that I get from them. And so that is something that maybe you can do. Maybe you can shift and find somebody like that. You can find one consistent client that you have on a retainer, or you just have a good relationship with that they consistently give you work. I'm not saying that you have to lock them in on a contract saying, you'll pay me $2,000 a month. That will not help your relationship most of the time, especially if it's already a consistent client. It might just stress them out, and you don't want to do that. These are people that have been good to you. So whenever you're not busy, don't necessarily freak out about it. You know that there's slow periods. You know that there's busy periods. Take those slow periods to start a new project. For example, recording these and recording my reels is a whole lot easier whenever I wasn't that busy. Now, I'm up in the morning recording them and batch recording them because I know I'm going on a trip. I'm going to keep doing it. But start these new projects whenever you have more time on your hands, because then you can get into a rhythm and maybe find an editor so that whenever you get busy, you don't have to stop the whole project. If I was sitting here editing all these, I wouldn't be able to do it. It wouldn't be sustainable. Pat helps me so much on that end, and I'm so grateful for that. I literally record this and upload it, and then he gets it done. Thank you, Pat. I know you're watching this. Thanks for editing it. And it just makes my life so much easier. Find people that can help you keep up these things that you're promising, and find a balance between client projects and personal projects. It will keep you grounded. It will keep you from burning out whenever you're super busy. And it's kind of like a therapy session, talking to my camera for 20 minutes. So thank you for listening. I hope this kind of helped. And it's tough not to stretch yourself too thin, because I know we're always trying to prove ourselves and we always have a chip on our shoulder. But that's okay. We're pretty much all the same. And just keep going, keep doing your thing. And I promise you're doing something right. If you're still in the business, you're doing something right. Keep your head down. Keep finding those good clients. Keep doing the work. And I am positive that it will pay off. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys. Peace out.